Hey y'all, I'm back. I'm going to read from my favorite book today. I'm so happy to be back. There's really no reason that I was even gone for such a long time, just life got in the way. But I'm here, I'm getting back in the groove. I'm going to slowly resuscitate myself, massage my heart back into it. Well, no, I shouldn't say it that way because my heart has never left it. But I am going to slowly get back into the groove here. I'm in my little office area. I've got the lights low. I'm not going to do anything really serious today. I'm going to bring my microphone a little bit closer. Come on, microphone. Come on. There you go. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm in my squeaky comfortable chair. Yeah, and I'm just back. And I don't plan on leaving. I don't plan on ever leaving. Sometimes life ebbs and flows, different things happen. But I'm here. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Lisa. I'm that super eccentric Texas gal. And this right here is my YouTube channel. It's She Raven. And thanks for supporting all my antics. I'm a true crime lover, horror, anything spooky. I just kind of like to come in here and it's almost like a confessional, basically. I can just talk about whatever I want to talk about. So just spend a couple minutes just pouring my heart out or just whatever's going on for that day. I also love to advocate for mental health. I'm huge with, on the mental health advocacy because I myself, suffer from mental health and, it's not a stigma, I hate when people, try to keep it private and things like that. So, yeah, so I just kind of throw out a bunch of stuff. I just, whenever I can, I just regurgitate it all back and, just chatter box. But, today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read from a book that I've read from a couple of times. And it's one of my favorite books. I bought the book because I just wanted to sometimes make content that's just a couple minutes long, just something a little bit interesting. And this is a spooky Texas book, and it just talks about different horror or spooky stories in Texas. And these are not real stories. I had no indication that they're real. So, fingers crossed that I'm saying that properly. These are not real, but it's just kind of fun. It's kind of fun to sometimes take a break and do something a little bit different. So, like I said, if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, I'm going to go ahead and mess with my microphone a little bit more. You can't see it, but I'm going to go ahead and mess with it just to make sure, because it's been a while since I've done this. I had to mess with the lighting and, I've got all the different lights in here, and then I opened the blinds and I shut the blinds, and I'm still really, really new to, this whole YouTube world and all of that. So a lot of times I don't know how to properly mess with my lighting and do all the fancy stuff, but I am going to learn. I keep saying that, but I'm going to learn. I think I showed you guys a little bit earlier my super duper big cup. I got this from Dollar Tree earlier today. I've got actually Diet Coke in there. But can you imagine wine or something in there? That's so awesome. I bought one for myself and I bought one for each of my kids. I've got 2 kids, and I just did that because I know how they go. I know them. They're my kids. They'll see me with it and then all of a sudden it's my cup, but then, they're fighting over and it's all over the place. So again, if you think you're interested in sometimes spending a little bit of time with me, go ahead, like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into this. This is Spooky Texas. I've been reading stories periodically from this book. After this tonight, I will do some research, and I will make a small crime podcast. I haven't done that in a while, and I love that. Because that's what I really love, just reading crime stories and things like that. So if you're interested in a podcast from, not from my view, but, from my voice, whatever, go ahead and like and subscribe. And I'm going to really, work on a couple of different podcasts, true crime podcast. And I might try to even find a real haunting or something like that. Sometimes that stuff kind of spooks me, though, to be quite honest with you. because sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm scared myself. Like I scare myself sometimes, researching that. And it's like that even with movies. If a movie starts with based on a true story, I'm like, oh, because then I'm just going, this really happened. What part of this really happened? And a lot of times I'll actually go through and I will, research the movie after to find out, okay, what part of this actually happened, because it's just always so scary to me. I scare myself sometimes with that stuff, and I'm sure there's probably tons and tons of people that scare themselves with this stuff. So this right here, like I said, all of the stories in here are based on different cities, various cities through the state of Texas. Texas is huge, so it's not every single city, obviously, or this book would be like an encyclopedia. But I really, really like it. I do think I want to get myself something a little bit more hardcore. And I do want to get one on Florida because I'm originally a Floridian. So I would like to kind of, see what kind of spooky stories people have written about Florida. And I did try to contact someone who was selling one on Marketplace before, and they never contacted me back, but I'm just remembering this right now. So I'll have to, go ahead and check into that because I would really love, to have a Florida one also. I'm a transplant here in Texas, but born and raised in Florida. And my family's actually from the Bahamas. Not that I had to say that, but I just usually tell the people that kind of thing. So anyways, this story, let me scoot in my chair, my awesome, comfortable, squeaky chair. This story right here is Sifty-Sifty San. Ooh. Let me put on my sexy ghost telling voice. I don't know why I keep messing with my microphone. I think it's because I haven't done this in such a long time, and I just keep tinkering with a bunch of different stuff. So let's go ahead and read this story. This story right here is taking place in the city of Wallis. I've actually been to Wallis. I haven't actually gotten out of the car and looked around and things like that, but it's a little tiny town. Texas is really, I don't want to say unique like that because I haven't been to too many states and I haven't traveled through lots of different states. And obviously I've traveled through Florida because, I lived in Florida. But Texas has a lot of really cute little towns, amazing little towns. And some of them are really cute and some of them are really old. And there's a variety of different things going on with a lot of Texas towns. And the reason I know that is because I enjoy camping a lot. So, that ain't, you drive. So I've driven through so many different Texas towns. And Wallis is one of those, tiny little cute towns. And it's also very close to Houston. It's about 40 miles west of Houston. So anything that is within an hour of Houston is usually still, I don't want to say not a town, but it's usually a lot, I'd say bigger than, or popular than, a place that's probably hours and hours away from a major city. Because, Houston is a large international mecca. It's, it's huge. And one time, I'm going off on a side note. I always do this. But one time I met this woman and she worked for the CDC locally. And she was telling me, she was just talking about diseases and stuff. And she was telling me that Houston is a mecca for a lot of the big diseases and even the small diseases. And she said a lot of people don't realize that, but she said because they are such an international city and they have those international airports, she was explaining just the transmission of disease and just how easy it is. She's like, sometimes, obviously a lot of times people don't know that they are carrying certain diseases and they're literally, just going, COVID, obviously even from COVID, you can kind of understand what I'm saying. And she's like, Houston has outbreaks of diseases sometimes that don't make the news and no one really knows about. Of course, she knows about it because she works for the CDC. because they are such an international hotspot. It just travels so quickly, the simplest things. And I mean, obviously now through the COVID era, we know that, but this was years and years and years before COVID had even hit, that she was kind of telling me that. So that's interesting. But like I was saying, so for me, I noticed that if you're still kind of close to Houston, you're a small city, but the Houston and surrounding areas have, really just grown so much. So whatever. But Wallis is really, it's a nice little place, nice place to live. I think off the top of my head, the last time I checked, I think the population is about, I don't know, 1700. It might be higher now. So it's a small city. It's between Sealy and Rosenberg. Sealy and Rosenberg are also, small little cities. But anyways, so this story right here is set in Wallis. Let's go ahead and read. There once was a beautiful old house right on the edge of a lake, surrounded by lovely woods about 10 miles outside of Wallis. The house was set so far back from the road it couldn't be seen. It was considered prime real estate in those parts, but no one wanted to live there because the house had a reputation of being haunted. In fact, no one had ever spent a single night in that house because a spirit calling itself Sifty-Sifty San drove everyone away long before midnight. Now the owner of the house was tired of paying taxes year after year on the home when he couldn't get anyone to rent it for more than one night. He was anxious to prove that the house was livable, and he offered a very large reward for anyone who would spend a whole night there. Several cowboys and even a few Texas Rangers took him up on the offer, only to flee screaming just before midnight at the coming of Sifty-Sifty San. The owner of the house raised the amount of the reward, but such was a reputation of the haunted house that no one was willing to take him up on his offer, no matter how much money was offered. In desperation, the owner of the house went to the big city, looking for a man or woman who had some experience with ghosts, figuring such a person would be able to banish the spirit of Sifty-Sifty San once and for all. He was in luck. The first night in town, he came across a man named Sam, who had spent much of his life banishing ghosts from haunted properties all over the West. When the owner of the haunted house had explained his predicament, the Ghostbuster at once agreed to come to Wallis and spend a night in the haunted house. The owner was so happy, he went right out and bought Sam as many groceries as he could carry, so Sam would have plenty of grub to eat while he waited for the ghost. At dusk the next evening, Sam started down the long drive leading to the haunted house with a big bag full of potatoes, bacon, cornmeal, and red beans in his hand. He whistled cheerfully to himself, happy to have such an easy assignment. Who could be afraid of a silly ghost when the sun was shining and the colors of the sunset were glowing across the waters of the lake? With the prospect of a good meal in his belly, a good night's sleep in a fancy house, and a big wad of money in his pocket come the morning, Sam was a happy man. If he heard the ominous creaking of the big pine trees or saw the way the water at the center of the lake began to swirl madly like a whirlpool, Sam gave no notice of it. He just waltzed through the fancy front door and settled himself down by the fireplace in the large kitchen to cook up a wonderful meal. Darkness came swiftly to the grand house by the lake, and with it came a sinister hissing sound in the forest around the lake. Sifty-sifty, the wind whistled in the treetops. San, the little waves lapping the shore agreed. Sifty-sifty, the crickets chirped restlessly. San, the old owl hooted mournfully. Sam shivered a little next to the little fire as he fed it a log, suddenly aware of the isolation of this particular house. There were no other homes on the lake, and this one was set so far back from the road that he couldn't hear the hoofbeats of passing riders or the rattle of carriages traveling by. It was just him, alone in a huge, drafty house in a menacing, dark forest beside the deep, threatening lake. He shook himself to stop his anxious thoughts and threw another log on the fire. Outside, the wind picked up and the tree branches lashed together. A huge gust of wind shook the house and howled down the chimney, making the fire flicker wildly. Sam threw on another log and nursed the blaze until the fire regained its former strength. The wind settled down a bit, and Sam could once again hear the tiny sounds of night through the open window. The frogs were croaking softly to themselves in the reeds by the water. Sifty, Sifty, the little ones croaked. San, belched the biggest of the bullfrogs. The sound of the waves grew louder, as if something or someone were stirring up the lake. As the bacon began to sizzle and crisp in the frying pan, Sam heard a huge thud, thud, thud sound coming from the forest on the opposite end of the lake. The sound rattled the furniture in the kitchen and made him jump and his arms break out with goosebumps. He hopped up and frantically went around the house, making sure all the windows and doors were locked, all except the back window in the kitchen, which he kept open a crack as a possible escape route should Sifty-Sifty San come and get him. Then he settled down by the fire to watch his red beans cooking in a little pot while the bacon sizzled and spat in the pan. He put the bacon on his plate and tossed the potatoes in the bacon grease to fry, all the time listening for another thumping noise from the forest. He heard nothing but the soft hiss of the wind in the treetops. And then there came a soft cry from the far side of the lake. It was a faint meowing cry, like that of a small kitten, but it raised the hairs on the back of Sam's neck. The frying pan shook in his grip, and he hastily put it back on the fire, wondering if he should close and lock the window. But if he did, his final escape route would be cut off. "Don't be silly, Sam," he said aloud, trying to remember the prayers and spells his grandmother had taught him for conjuring a ghost. But he couldn't remember a one, not even when he pulled a Bible out of his pack and tried to pray. The meowing cry came again louder. It didn't sound like a kitten this time, but like some sort of large cat stalking its victim. Sam shuddered at the thought, forgetting to stir his potatoes or check the boiling pot of red beans. A gust of air blew through the small opening of the window, bringing with it a strange, musty smell, like the dust in a graveyard. And out on the lake, Sam heard a soft voice chanting, "I am Sifty-Sifty San. I'm here on the lake, but where is the man?" Sam froze in place like a rabbit confronted by a coyote. What was that? The wind picked up again, pushing against the house like a huge fist and howling down the large chimney until the fire flickered wildly and the frying pan toppled over. "I am Sifty-Sifty San," a sinister voice hissed from the shore of the lake. "I am here on the shore, but where is the man?" The broth from the beans bubbled over and the fire hissed and sparked as the water hit the burning logs. Sam dropped his Bible in his fright and scrambled frantically for his bag. He had some gopher dust somewhere inside, and a few other supplies his grandmother had given him to banish ghosts, but he couldn't seem to find any of them. His hands were shaking too much to grip anything. To grip anything. Why do I keep doing that? To grip anything. And the dusty, decaying smell coming through the window seemed to dull his thoughts and numb his body. The broth overflowed again, putting out a section of the fire, making the kitchen seem darker and more menacing. I am Sifty-Sifty San. A terrible howling voice came from the front of the house. I am here on the porch, but where is the man? Abandoning food, Bible, bag, and sanity, Sam wrestled desperately with the sudden, stubborn back window, trying to open it wide enough to climb through. He heard the fancy front door slam open with a bang that made the whole house shudder. And down the passageway came the thud, thud, thudding of footsteps. Then the kitchen door slammed inward, and a huge shadow with burning yellow eyes appeared in the frame. I am Sifty-Sifty San, a horrible, blood-chilling voice bellowed, a dusty, decaying smell cutting right through the smell of burning potatoes and bubbling beans. I am here in the house with the trespassing man. No, you ain't, on account of I'm gone, shouted Sam, springing through the window, glass, frame, wood, and all. He moved so fast he barely got cut by the breaking glass, and he hightailed it back to town faster than a jackrabbit. And that was the last time anyone went near the old house on the lake. If it hasn't fallen to pieces by now, then Sifty-Sifty San may still be there. Ooh. Yeah, that's a spooky one. Yeah, ghost stories are always fun. Yeah, ghost stories are always fun. I've actually never been to any place that's haunted. I don't know if I would even want to. I kind of have the feeling like as long as you don't mess with certain things, nothing bad will happen. But yeah, that was a good one. Sorry about my mess ups. I don't know. Does your brain sometimes do that? Like you're looking at something, you know the word, and you say something different. And then you're like, why did I say that? But anyways, that's it for that one. I'll probably end up reading some more from this book. I just kind of periodically go through it. As soon as I'm done with this, I will also see if I can actually find a book today. I'm going to write that on my hand. Yeah, I'm going to write that on my hand right now. Do you guys ever do that? Like write on your hand? Sometimes I'll write things on my hand and I'll still forget to do it. I'll write it on my hand. It'll be on my hand all day. I'll have to look at it all day, wash my hands and look at it, and I'll still forget to do it. So I'm going to write. I'd like one of two things. I either want to find a Florida book or just another ghost book. Maybe something more that is more like on the true side, so that we can really be scared, so we can really like sit down and think, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that happened, and just be scared out of your mind. For some reason, as I was reading that story, I couldn't help but to think of Hill House. I'm not sure if you guys ever saw that Netflix series, but I don't know, just kind of made me think of that one. With the haunting. I remember when I saw the Blair Witch Project, years and years ago when I was much younger. I'm not sure why I thought it was real. I'm not sure where I got that in my head, but I remember seeing it, and the next day I had to work, and I don't know, it just kind of scared me. The whole process scared me, and I loved it. It scared me and I loved it. I was at work and it was like, ooh, it's, so scary just, thinking about just thinking about it, just the whole way they created it. And I think I probably knew it wasn't real. I'm not sure. But yeah, those real ones really get to me. So I'm going to see if I can get my hands on that. Let me see, I wrote my little, you probably can't see it because I should have wrote it on this hand, then you could have saw it better. But I wrote it here, and when I'm waiting in the car rider line, the dreaded car rider line to pick up my son, I'm gonna look online and see if I can find something, see if I can order it, and then have it here by next week or something. I kind of usually try to go for things that are used. I don't know, I just feel like I get my money's worth that way. Even though this book I didn't buy used, I bought that brand new. But I've been seeing it for a while, and I was really looking at it. I'm actually looking up Marketplace right now. So yeah, thanks for joining me. I'm back. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to start rolling things out a little bit again tonight after I slave over dinner. After I slave over dinner and all that, I'm going to see, what cases I can kind of do a little podcast on and do that. Yeah, do that. So thanks again. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.